Well. I would assume this must mean that Kamala Harris's internal poll numbers, not the numbers she's used to referring to, must not be very good. Because absolute loser Jack Smith has now brought a new superseding indictment against Donald Trump meant to work around the recent Supreme Court ruling holding that Trump's official actions as president were not subject to prosecution. The walls are closing in, everybody. Leave a like on the video. The walls are closing in. Now they finally got him. It's all over for Trump, guys. Jack Smith is on the case. The walls are closing in. No, they're not, actually. A grand jury has returned an superseding indictment, which again is irrelevant, against Donald Trump at Washington, D.C., retaining the same four core charges against him, trying to subvert the election. You see a lot of it's over for DJT, more crimes. Who could have seen it coming? So here for this. I don't know, 38 convictions doesn't really roll off the tongue. We need another one of these trials to get underway to make it a nice round number. The left celebrating this, absolutely, positively. More reasons why the 34-count convicted felon has no business running for president. These people are all repeating Democrat, NPC talking points. We're going to talk about the legal perspective of that. Also in the news, more desperate. All of this happens on the day that Donald Trump agrees to his debate with Kamala Harris. I'm sure it's unrelated, but RFK Jr. now being forced to stay on the ballot in both Michigan and Wisconsin. That number of states may increase, but these are two key battleground states. And the reason they're keeping him on there is to try and hurt Trump. They don't want to remove him from the ballot. Now, hopefully, they can just turn this on its head a little bit. That's my hope, and have it backfire so that now RFK is just going to have to come to Michigan and have to come to Wisconsin and remind everybody to vote for Trump. So maybe that will rally some additional support. I wrote, this shows just how badly Kamala Harris must be polling. You see these numbers. I mean, I know she's used to getting polled, but I'm not sure if she's used to these poor reviews. I would suspect maybe. You could see, obviously, if the founding fathers saw what's become of the United States now, they'd start a revolution. Jack Smith is such a loser. They're so desperate, obvious, trying to interfere. I mean, the thing is, Jack Smith, here's from the Hill, special counsel. Jack Smith filed a superseding indictment in his case indicting former President Trump for his actions to seek subvert the 2020 election, retaining the same charges but shifting some elements in the case in the wake of the Supreme Court's immunity ruling. The Tuesday filing comes after Jack Smith presented the case against former president to a second grand jury, which had not previously heard the case. It likewise concluded that charges were warranted against the president. The superseding indictment is an effort by the special counsel to respond to a ruling earlier this summer by a Supreme Court that held Trump and other former executives retain broad immunity for core actions that they took as president and presumptively immune for other actions while taken in the office. Look, this just tells you they're afraid. They are deathly afraid. They feel the Kamala nomenon is coming to a close. The cacklementum disappearing. Kamala Harris did not get a bump from the DNC, which normally they do. The filing removes former Justice Department Attorney Jeffrey Clark as unnamed, unindicated co-conspirator in the case, a reflection of the specific instructions from the Supreme Court that said Trump's conversations with Justice Department officials were protected from prosecution. Trump was prepared to install Clark as acting attorney general so that he could investigate this baseless claims of fraud, or his baseless claims of fraud. The filing also bumps up the day and date the prosecutors argue Trump's conspiracy to remain in office to November 13th, or to the office began, November 13th, 2020. I don't know how you can look at this and not just see it for exactly what it is, a pathetic Hail Mary pass. They tried to put him in jail in New York and failed twice. They're going to try to put him in jail in Georgia, but they just couldn't escape their own Democrat corruption. Fannie Willis. Fannie. By the way, the betting market has not changed one bit since this was announced, so clearly the betting market doesn't believe these charges will stick. Here, according to Fox News, the new charges narrow the allegations against the Republican presidential nominee following a Supreme Court ruling that conferred broad immunity to former presidents. Sources familiar with the matter tell Fox that discussions surrounding the superseding indictment will likely not speed things up, and it is unlikely to go to trial before the November election. So this won't even go to trial before the election. So much for the Department of Justice not creating the appearance of election, tampering within 90 days of the election that they're supposed to abide by. Now, if you talked about this, I think it was Merrick Garland. I believe it was Merrick Garland. Let me check. I believe it was. I could be wrong. But they had just said, we're not going to get involved in anything within 90 days of the election because we don't want to try to, kind of screw up anything. Here, the Department of Justice, a 60-day rule, 90-day rule. I mean, it's insane. The big news you should be talking about is Kamala Harris and Trump have agreed to a debate on ABC, and Donald Trump absolutely roasted her in his reply. You see, the walls are closing in on Trump. Federal prosecutors file new charges on Trump. Don't care. This is a nothing burger. You see good logic, lawyer saying they are still using the 18 USC 1512C, even though it was specifically knocked out by SCOTUS 2 months ago in the United States versus Fisher. Jack Smith is really bad at this. I mean, ultimately, surely it will work this time. It does not seem like lawyers seem very concerned about this. Lawyers do not seem very concerned about this sticking. What people need to be talking about is the debate that Kamala Harris agreed to with Donald Trump. Trump says he's reached an agreement with ABC debate with Kamala Harris and reveals the rules in bombshell statement. Well, he just roasted her. He basically just roasted her. I have reached an agreement with radical left Democrats for a debate with comrade Kamala Harris, Trump wrote on Truth Social. He lamented that Harris would not agree to the Fox News debate on September 4th, which I would rather have too. Much closer, it'd be next week. Before the ABC debate, he said that the network and his campaign are keeping that date open in case she changes her mind or, of course, flip-flops, like she did on the border wall, and she did taxing tips. He noted that the debate host, ABC News, is by far the nastiest and most unfair newscaster in the business. The rules will be the same as last CNN debate, which seemed to work out well for everyone except perhaps crooked Joe Biden, Trump added. The debate between Trump and Biden led to a series of disastrous events for the U.S. president that ultimately led to a pressure campaign to end his reelection bid. I mean, effectively end his presidency, to be honest with you. Absolutely great news, stunning great news, that she's going to debate. It's going to be a disaster for her. Now, she did this thing where she wants to be on Kamala Harris on CNN now. What's funny about Kamala going to CNN, okay, is that, for her first sit-down interview, it's going to be taped, edited, and screened before anyone sees it. It will not be the real Kamala Harris, and I am still willing to bet you that she comes off wildly unlikable. The interview will be conducted by CNN's chief political correspondent, Dana Bash, and will air at 9 p.m. Eastern Thursday. So we're going to watch that, by the way, on my Rumble channel. We're going to watch that on my Rumble channel because I suspect they will probably try to take advantage of the copyright system on YouTube. So if you haven't yet, download the Rumble app, follow the quartering so that we can always react to, mainstream propaganda. So Thursday night, we'll be live streaming again. Go to Rumble, download the Rumble app. I know you can take on another app on your phone. Go to the Rumble app, search, or just go to the web, the web version, search for the quartering. I come up, I have a little green check mark. And you can be one of the other 254,000 heroes that follow on a free speech platform. 37 days since her candidacy began have generated a swell of enthusiasm and momentum for Harris. That's all fake, by the way, including at last week's convention in Chicago. But her lack of formal news conferences or interviews have generated criticism from her Republican rivals. Thursday's interview fulfills a vow she made earlier in August to sit down before the end of the month. Wow. She waits till like literally the second last day of the month. With this interview, Harris's extraordinarily truncated campaign is entering new post-convention phase. Her team is anticipating more scrutiny as she and Walz enter the final weeks. Harris has also been preparing for a September 10th debate with Republican rival former President Donald Trump. I mean, all the momentum around Kamala Harris is fake. This interview will be scripted. It will not do anything. It will not change any minds. Nobody watches CNN who isn't already voting for Kamala Harris, let's be honest. And so it'll just be a great opportunity for people to point out how she flip-flopped about the border wall and how she flip-flopped about taxing tips and how she flip-flopped about, DVDA and how she flip-flopped about going V to A or whatever. I don't know, whatever she's into, So these new charges are just a smokescreen, and they get announced on the day he agreed to the debate with her. That's the real story. Absolutely pathetic behavior from the Democrats. Make sure you subscribe or follow right here to this channel so you can get breaking news like this. I came right back up into the studio when this news broke so I could cover it for you. I hope you're informed by this video, and we'll talk to you again real soon.